So he asked me, "Hey Zane, have you ever seen ducks flying south in the winter?" And I said, "Sure, I'm from Mississippi. I've seen ducks flying." He said, "You ever notice that when they fly, they kind of fly together and they fly in like a V formation?" Hi, I'm Zane with Zane Engineers Life. So it's Friday story time, and we're working on this cool project, and it's on this parking garage on a mall in Birmingham, Alabama. And we're putting these really cool, modern, almost New York style covers on the stairwells of the parking garage. And they have these cool vertical and horizontal lines, and they're really sleek and modern looking. And they have infill panels that are all metal, and then above that are panels for the glass. And the roofs are this pan deck that drains to one side. And, well, we're having fits getting the architect to approve the final stamp drawings. Well, it's back and forth, rejected and rejected. And finally, we decide to get a conference call together. So back up for a second. What do architects actually do, other than just make our engineering lives miserable? What do they normally do? Well, normally what they're trying to do is get all the factors of a building to work together. The texture, the color, the fit, the finish, the lines, the aesthetics, the life safety, the size of exits, how many stairs there are. There's lots and lots of things that they're trying to juggle. And their main focus is the form, or what it looks like, the fit, or how it all goes together, and the function, how it helps us in the real world. So back to our parking deck stairwell covers, and let me try to describe them for a second. See, they're maybe 10 feet wide and 20 feet long and 10 feet high, and they're rectangular, and there's square tube for all the members. There's 6 or 8 posts, and they're basically in horizontal frames. And then there's frame panels that fill in for the metal sides and the glass tops. And you kind of get the picture, a lot of rectangular lines and rectangular shapes, and real modern and real sleek. Well, we're down to the final few points, and the damn architect is just having none of it. And we get him on the phone, and we're looking through the drawings together, and we're going page by page. And his big hang-up is that the verticals on one side of the enclosure do not line up perfectly from one side to the other with the verticals on the other side. See, he wanted the verticals on one side to line up with the other side so that if you were looking through the enclosure, you would look out and not have this vertical right in your way, breaking up your view. Okay, well, that's cool. I like the idea. But remember, this is for a parking deck. You know, where you park your car anywhere on the deck, and then you walk from there to wherever the staircase is and enter this staircase enclosure structure. So I'm talking to the architect, and I'm like, "Hey man, good idea. I really like things lining up. Hey, let me ask you something. Let's say that you are dead on, and we have all these things lining up, and the sight line is perfect." And he's like, yeah, that's exactly what I want. And I'm like, "Well, let me ask you this. What happens if I step 1 foot to the left?" And he goes, "Shit, you got me." He goes, "I've been looking at them on these drawings and literally laying them on top of each other, and things didn't line up, so I was marking it up." He goes, "I never really thought about it in the real world, how you could come from an angle and then you're still going to see those verticals." So I tell you that story to tell you this one. And real quick, like and subscribe, watch to the end. It really helps us reach more people. So I'm talking to this GC one day, and we're on a job site, and we start talking about architects, and we're sharing some more stories back and forth. And we're talking about how we both have to wade through all the drawings and notes and RFIs, just trying to get a feel for what in the world it is that the architect really wants. Well, we've been talking a while, and he says, "Hey man, I think I've got it, and I think I've got it figured out. Would you like to hear?" So he asked me, "Hey Zane, have you ever seen ducks flying south in the winter?" And I said, "Sure, I'm from Mississippi. I've seen ducks flying." He said, "You ever notice that when they fly, they kind of fly together, and they fly in like a V formation?" And I said, "Sure, that checks out." He said, "You ever notice that nearly all of the time, that one side of the V is just slightly longer than the other side. And I thought about that, and I said, yeah, that seems right. And he said, well, you ever wonder why that is? And I thought a bit. I mean, I'm an engineer. I'm thinking through air resistance and friction and math and science and all these kinds of things. And finally, I just say, hey, I'm not really sure. Why is it? And he says, well, it's because there's more ducts on that side. See, you don't need to make it any harder than it needs to be. And that's all that needs to be said. I'm Zane with Zane Engineers Life, and we'll make you better.